fans as the most familiar of images. For anyone up to the age of 80, they have been with us since our childhood, wedded together, as in the scene in which they walk out of frame, both encased in one pair of outsized trousers, tipping their hats in your darn tootin'. That sweet pair, as they were eulogized by comedian Dick Van Dyke, for whom the halls of heaven must be ringing with divine laughter, and indeed they were known and loved throughout the world, under a bewildering variety of local names. Dick and Doof in Germany, Hirlan and Halvan in Norway and Sweden, Gurg and Kokke in Denmark, Stan Espan in Poland, Flip y Flap in Romania. In Portugal, they were Obusha and Oestica. In Italy, Crick and Croc. In Greece, Zonopo and Asno. In Egypt, El Tkin and El Rufain. In Turkey, Shushman ver Safe. They have entered our unconscious thoughts as primal beings, iconic figures to be used in advertising and cartoons, metaphors for a certain kind of chaos, a byword for confusion and incompetence, made to lampoon bungling statesmen, lunatic Pentagon generals, or captains of industry who reduce economies to the level of the unmade house in Stan and Ollie's The Finishing Touch. But there is, of course, a difficulty with these all-so-familiar images, as we set out to seek the elusive reality behind the mask of the clowns. More than any other performers, Laurel and Hardy are idolized by an immense mass of active fans, organized, or more often disorganized, under the general heading of the Sons of the Desert, the association formed by John McCabe with Stan Laurel's blessing in 1965. Since then, tents of the order have proliferated on at least 3 continents, preserving the memory of the boys and their movies, publishing magazines, holding annual conventions, fairs, and jamborees, imbibing celebratory libations, collecting memorabilia, and attending to the more serious business of preserving the duo's artistic heritage on film, video, and new computer-age media. So large has this fan base become that it has developed within it fissures and feuds, conflicts of interest, and theological disputes concerning the nature of the objects of worship. Issues that lie directly in the purview of the author's own cautious searches and divide tent from tent, fanzine from fanzine, founders from followers, lie at the nub of these arguments, and can become stumbling blocks for researchers who might enter the field in all blithe innocence, but emerge covered in mud pie slung across the battleground, much like the great pie fight of the Battle of the Century. The essence of the argument is in the proposition, advanced by some of the more zealous of the fans who have spent lifetimes dedicated to their heroes, that Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy were the warmest, most gentle human beings to grace the halls of comedy, both on-screen and off. This simple, straightforward assessment admits of some obvious flaws and exceptions, but is built to stand for posterity, a confirmation of the fans' tribute to the 2 men who gave such laughter to the world, and who would cavil. After all, Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy were comedians, not politicians, nor soldiers, nor armaments salesmen, nor religious leaders, who spread disharmony and misery in the name of love, or God, or duty. They sought only to entertain us, and succeeded, creating feather-light diversions from the troubles and travails of everyday life. They never pretended to have discovered the meaning of life, nor to provide any spiritual guidance, nor to tell people how to live their lives, invest their money, or whom they might love or hate. The closest they came to any statement might be a formal letter by Stan Laurel, written from the Hal Roach studios in 1934, in response to a query about his favorite funnies, suggesting that humor, in any form, is one of the finest tonics for depression, whether the depressed be an individual or a nation. The comic pages of America have done their part in lifting this country out of the dumps and bringing smiles to the haggard faces of a worried world. And so, of course, had Laurel and Hardy. But profound thoughts were not their métier, even if one ratchets up their ambition from the opening intertitle of one of their 1920